Hello, everyone. You're listening to the Crack It Cold podcast. I'm Willie Watley here with JJ Hatzel. And our guest today was born and raised in Rising Sun, Indiana. He's a graduate of Thomas More University in Crestview Hills, Kentucky. And now he works in group sales for the Indiana Fever. He loves to hang out at the local coffee shops around Indianapolis. He's passionate, determined, and today he's on Crack It Cold. Welcome, Noah Pflum.
Thanks for having me, guys. I'm excited to be here. Appreciate it.
You can follow Noah on Instagram at n.pflum. That's Pflum. So we're just going to dive right in. It's been a while, and we have some drinks, some cans that we're here to crack.
Yes, we do.
And we're going to go and crack them open.
Ceremonial.
Let's crack it.
That Zona had a kick to it.
A little bit of trouble at first. I had to work for it.
Thanks for being here, Noah. Appreciate it, man.
I really appreciate you guys having me. I'm glad I
man.
got to meet you guys over the last couple months. So
Yeah,
appreciate you having me on.
absolutely. So, Noah, we have a lot of things we want to talk to you about. We put people on here who are inspiring. And, you know, you're somebody who's young. You're a young professional. You've worked hard at what you do. I think you're great just the past few months getting to know you. And so we really want to ask you questions about what you do and why you do it, and just offer some inspiration to the podcast and have a casual conversation. So I guess we can go ahead and start with the fact that you graduated at Thomas More University. You want to tell us what that was like coming from Rising Sun and going to school and then trying to figure out what you wanted to do for your career?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, honestly, my going to Thomas More from Rising Sun wasn't that big of a transition just because it was another small university, but I was very determined in my goals to get to where I wanted to get to. So a lot of people spent their weekends out partying. I definitely spent a lot of time with friends, but college for me was a lot different than it is for most people because I had this idea in mind of where I wanted to be. So I was getting the grades. I was using that to get scholarships because I paid for my own school. And then networking my butt off to try and get to where I wanted to get to. So, of course, in March of my first year as well, COVID hit. So, honestly, I didn't have many other options of what to do in my free time. So, honestly, as bad as that sucked, it kind of helped me in a way really focus in on my goals and what I was working towards. And I just locked in for those 3 years until I graduated in the spring last year.
It's really awesome.
Yeah.
And I think at this age, that's something that's important to talk about because COVID is something we will all remember for the rest of our lives.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's neat to hear what your situation was like for that during that time.
What's something that you felt like you did that made you stand out during COVID that other people weren't necessarily doing? Because you were talking about, like, during COVID, how you kind of took that as a time to really stand out and push yourself, I guess, you know, to network. Do you feel like there was anything that you did specifically that kind of helped you maybe stand out more than other people in terms of like your networking or like for your major, or did you try to get this job or that job to kind of help yourself in the long run, I guess?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. I think what kind of triggered me a little bit after my first year, going into my second year, I knew I needed to have, so I graduated school in 3 years. I knew I needed to have some sort of internship to graduate. I wanted an internship with the Pacers one summer, but of course they weren't doing internships because of COVID.
Yeah.
So I didn't have any options. So really what I was just thinking about in that time was pursuing the things that I was passionate about, which I believe is really, if everyone does that, they'll end up right where they need to be in life and everything. And my two, like 1A, 1B, are like basketball, anything basketball, and sneakers. So I walked in a local skateboard shop, and if anybody is familiar with sneakers, Nike SB had been going crazy at the time. It's kind of died off since, but that part of it I wanted to be a part of. I didn't know as much about skateboarding, but I just walked in and pushed the owner like, listen, you know, I want to be a part of this. Can I volunteer for you? Because I didn't have any other opportunities. I needed to get some kind of experience. So I think just – I mean, having the balls to walk in just say, listen, I want to work for you. And he brought me on. I was an intern in the spring. He's great. I love Joe to death. So aside from that as well, went back to my AAU program I played for and interned with them that same spring.
Distinction.
Yeah.
So just pursuing both of those things, I was an operations intern there. so just pursuing the both of those things, and I got amazing connections from both of those internships. So
Yeah.
I felt like, I mean, that just really showed me, no matter how dark it is with COVID or whatever else, as long as I stick to finding, sticking to the things that I really love, I'm going to end up right where I need to be.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your job where you are now, because now you're group sales with the Indiana Fever. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that and, what your day-to-day is like and, how much you like your job and what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So I just started in group sales for the Fever January 9th. Willie and I were on the same orientation team, which is how we met.
It's
great.
So just started that job. Honestly, I was always between marketing and sales going to school. Didn't know where I was going to end up for a first job coming out, but was willing to try either just to learn and experience it because I didn't, like I said, I didn't know. So day to day, I am, your typical calling people on the phone, but in its purest form, I feel like my job is just organizing experiences for groups of people of all different kinds, churches, schools, girls basketball teams, and creating experiences for them, that are going to last forever. One of my favorite things about my job is kind of seeking out youth girls basketball teams, because I think the W is really expanding and being able to educate them and show them that it's an avenue for something that they might be able to do, whether in a job or actually playing.
Yeah.
I feel like is so important. So honestly, that's what I'd probably say I love most about my job, aside from working for PS&E. The culture there is amazing. The people are great. Willie's great.
Yeah.
So I love that part of it as well.
Yeah. And one thing I think is really awesome, and just coming into this job, working, with NBA basketball and WNBA, there's this shoe game surrounding it. And obviously, one of the things we wanted to talk to you about is your shoe game and how that works. And, personally, I'd like to shout out all three of us right now kind of have something
Wear 'em
sick
up.
going on. So I don't know if
Let 'em
we
know.
need to show him.
Go.
I know he's got a brace on.
I
with
just
his,
bought these actually from corporate where
Yeah.
you got the bag.
I know
Yeah.
I know exactly what that pair is
Show
too.
'em
That's
off.
from All Star. So got some Para SB dunks on. Had to bring in the SBs to commemorate my
Those
work
are
at the
clean.
skate shop.
Those are very clean.
Willie in the Air Force Ones. You guys in
We're
the
in
Air
the
Force. I
Air
didn't
Force
get the Air
Ones,
Force
yeah.
One memo.
Yeah, we should have let you know, I guess.
Should have let
before
me
you-
know.
How did you get into sneakers? Like, what really led you to, I guess, like dive into that and learn about that stuff?
I honestly feel like I've just had it since I was young. Like, I have pictures of me as a kid. I don't know if you guys went through skater boy, see you later boy phases when you were in middle school or elementary school, but I was going to Journeys buying the big bulky Osiris shoes.
Okay. Yeah.
And I loved them. And one year my sister got her tax return and took my brother birthday shopping, and I kind of tagged along and conned her into getting me a pair of shoes as well. So it's kind of always been there. And I feel like when I was in middle school, the basketball shoe kick kind of really started. I remember like making an Instagram post and hashtagging all of the exact names of all of the shoes.
Yeah.
And it just really went up from there. And just, I feel like it's a way to express yourself without saying any words at all. It can start a conversation. It shows that you're a part of a certain community.
Yeah.
If you see someone that has a certain pair of sneakers on, there's just an initial connection there. Like, you both already know what's good.
I could definitely attest to that, because since I've worn these, like out in public at least, there's been like a few people that have came up to me and said, or that have talked to me just about shoes. I'm like, I don't even know what you're talking
Yeah,
about. But
exactly.
like, they just see that you have those, like a certain pair of shoes on,
Right.
like that
They
normal
think
people
that
just
you
wouldn't
just
wear.
know.
Yeah. And they think that you're a part of that.
Yeah, you get the nod.
The nod,
The
they're like,
nod.
yeah, the respect.
Yeah.
It's just like the respect.
You get the nod. But honestly, I am the least artistic person in terms of creating that you will ever meet. I can't draw. My stick figure would even look bad. But I just love, art in different forms. And I feel like so many different sneakers express that between color combos and just the design. And like, I'm super nitpicky about materials as well. Like, I just love it all around. So.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. And I think, just the confidence that you have when you're wearing a nice pair of kicks.
Absolutely.
It really boosts your mood.
Can
It makes you feel better.
can we bring out, Noah has
Yeah.
some surprise pairs for
So
us here,
sneaker
so
stories, absolutely. So I'll go chronologically.
please.
I'll start with this pair. So it's a Nike Kyrie 2 Duke pair that came out probably 2016. But when these came out at first, I'm a big Duke fan. Sorry for anybody that doesn't like to hear that, but I'm a huge Duke fan. When these first came out, I love the Kyrie 2. I had several pairs that I played in, and I couldn't get them because I didn't have any money. I didn't ever want to ask my parents for money, so I had to let these pass by. Well, the next year, another Duke Kyrie came out, the Duke Kyrie 3, and I was like, listen, Mom and Dad, I don't like to ask you for much, but I have to have these. So basically what happened was I had been doing really well in school, and I spoke with all my teachers, had all my assignments laid out. Like, I was done. I was organized. Everything was put together. And my parents let me skip school and go stay with my brother on a school night to go to the mall right next to his place to get these shoes. And I was using his card to buy them. And he was going to pay my parents back. Well, he told me, he lived in the basement of this house. He was like, listen, you're going to go out the side door. It locks behind you. Just don't forget my card because you can't get back in. Walked out the side door, and what didn't I have? My brother's card. So he's like, the front window should be unlocked. I had to dive through the front window, go get the card. I went back, got it, went in. There was like 3 people in line to get the shoes. So I got the shoes. And then the second half of that is, you know, like going back to school. You walk into class with your McDonald's cup or your Wendy's cup when you missed the morning. So I came in with my Wendy's cup, and my entire science class looked up and were like, did you get the shoes? They all knew it. They all knew what I was doing. I was like, I got the shoes.
Got the shoes.
These have a really good story behind them. These pushed me to get these because I couldn't get these. So then when I had some money, I went back later and I bought these guys. But yeah. So Duke Kyrie's, and then
showing off the Duke.
Yeah, absolutely. And then my last pair. So summer 2018, I was fortunate enough to go on a family trip with my dad, brother, and grandpa to Amsterdam in Germany. So our family is German. So just went out there, had a great time, experienced everything. And while I was out there, I didn't have an opportunity to get a lot of pretty big time releases at the time because of where I grew up and where I lived. And there's this chain in Europe called Soulbox that has all of these big releases. It's a really awesome retailer. And when I was there, or I planned it around the trip, I knew these were coming out. It was like Nike's first introduction to the React cushioning that they were doing. So me being the sneaker nerd that I am, I'm like, I absolutely have to have these. So I went out there, and me and my brother actually got up early one morning, went out in Berlin, camped out at a Soulbox, and there was like a 16-year-old there that was in line that was like, hey, we know the store manager. He always gets us on a list to start. So I'm going to put your name on this list for you. So then when the store manager shows up, he's standing outside the door, calls my name. I go in and I get the shoes just out on the street in Berlin in Europe. So
that's crazy. That's a good story.
like I showed you guys earlier, German receipt as well. So again, super nerd. Like to keep the receipts.
Kept the receipts.
Nürnberger Strasse. So straight out of Berlin. Another story that I like to tell.
Awesome.
That's dope. That's awesome.
Absolutely.
Man. Yeah, that's really cool. And were those like new releases when you got them? Those shoes?
Yes. So it
brand
was
new.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you asked that too, because those actually released in Europe a month before they came out in the States. So when I got back to the States, I was wearing them to the mall.
They were all like, "What?"
These dudes were like, "How did you get those?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can't tell you. Yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome.
That's really cool. And like between those, I guess 3 pairs, is there a favorite? Is it that Europe pair that you have, or is it the Dukes that you had to wait on, or is it?
I feel like I've got several favorites for different reasons, but I think the pair from Europe was super significant because I feel like it was my first kind of pair of, I don't try to be a hype beast. I like to wear what I like, but at the time they were super coveted. Like to be able to have something like that and get it at retail price versus resale price.
Right.
That was super important, and it was a really big moment that's going to stick with me forever. So, honestly, that's probably my favorite pair.
No, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I get that for sure.
Yeah.
It's great. And so I think another thing that we really want to talk to you about is just basketball in general. You've been around the game for a while. You work in it, you know. Why don't you just share what the game means to you and why?
You're going to make me tear up. Legitimately. That question makes me tear up a little bit. Man, the game means everything to me. I mean, since I was little, I kind of stuck to it. I played baseball a little bit growing up, too, up until, like, high school. But then just latched onto the game for forever. I feel like a big kind of – I played growing up, but, like, as soon as I latched onto Duke basketball in, like, 2009, that's when it, like, really took off for me. playing the game, just being around it all the time, learning basically, like, I navigate my life in basketball terms now. Like, if you turn the ball over, the clock keeps running. Nobody's going to stop for you to pout. Like, you gotta keep playing. So just like stuff like that. And then, man, like, it has literally built out my career. Like, I don't know what I would have pursued if the Pacers and Fever and other NBA teams and basketball teams and stuff didn't exist. Like, I've spent so many hours in the gym, just so many hours watching the game, and it just never gets old. There's always something new. There's always an emerging star. There's always something to complain about, whether that be the Pacers or Duke or whoever else. But I just love the game. And my now fiance always is like, I feel like she understands it at this point, but like, my love for basketball is kind of hard to be topped.
Yeah.
She's just like, you love basketball more than me, don't you? And it's like, you guys are on the same level now. I'll bet you
nothing
there.
personal. Nothing personal.
You guys are like 1A, 1B, you in basketball.
Once you got engaged, then things started to change a little bit, right? And then, after the marriage, maybe.
I don't want to make any promises. And she's totally okay with it. Cool. She understands it now, and she fully supports it because she knows it's what makes me happy. So that's the best part.
That's a huge part of any healthy relationship, though, is they understand like your passion and your love.
Absolutely.
That's cool that she gets it.
Yeah,
for sure.
She's great.
And I wanted to ask you about your time. I know Willie mentioned that you were at Distinction for a little bit. Is that Luke Zeller or is that Luke Zeller? And I'm a huge IU fan.
Yep.
So his brother Cody obviously
Absolutely
played at IU. And what was that like playing under, or at least working under the Zeller brothers or Luke Zeller? And for anyone that knows Cody or Luke, or there's a third one as well. Tyler.
The
yeah.
middle one went to North Carolina.
Right. Yeah. So they all went and played college basketball. Mm-hmm. Cody plays for the Miami Heat now.
Yep.
I think the other two are, I know Luke doesn't play, right?
Yep.
I don't know if Tyler does overseas or anything.
I don't believe so anymore. No.
But yeah, what was that like, I guess, working under him? I mean, I'm sure you gained a lot of experience. You got to see a lot. Just talk about that briefly. I'm curious.
No, absolutely. And I got a lot to say about that as well. So, I mean, just starting out my sophomore year in high school, of course, loving the game. I stopped playing baseball to play basketball in the spring, and I was trying to find an AAU team to play for. My coach at the time had been going to some clinics and connected with Luke, and Luke let him know that he was starting a AAU program. He always had his Champions program, which went around and like to local schools and whatever and had little camps and stuff, but never had an AAU program. So they started the AAU program. I was super fortunate to be a part of it, played as a player, spring 17, spring 18 through the summers as well. We had Saturday training camps like every weekend in the spring. It was from like 8 in the morning to 4:30 in the evening. So long days, but definitely paid off. And then my senior year, I came back in high school because seniors in high school, you can't play AAU. It's just like an age regulation thing. Right. So I actually came back and coached a team my senior year in high school. And then 2 years after that, came back as an operations intern. And I just feel like even from the jump, having that connection as a sophomore in high school to someone who played in the NBA and has so much experience being around those people, and has two brothers in the NBA. Yeah. Like that was so cool for me. And the knowledge that he passed on, I wouldn't know what I know about the game if he hadn't trickled that down into the program. So super fortunate to be a part of the program across the board.
Yeah. That's awesome. Can I ask you, during that internship, operationally, like what kind of things were you doing? Because that's one area that I'm very interested in. And that's kind of where my career is. And I've had internships in operations as well. And that's kind of where I'm hoping to get more experience at during my job now. So I'm curious what that looks like with an AAU team.
Yeah, so I mean, just to paint the picture, just with the gym. So these training camps are in the Distinction Gym in Washington, Indiana. So you kind of have the gym down below, and then there's like a railing and a balcony and a little kind of classroom setup. You can overlook into the gym. Then there's a little office, and then there was it's like built onto a church. Okay. And then there's like a big open area. So there would be skills and drills stuff going on the court. There was a room next to the court that they always had chapel with the Distinction program to talk about faith-based things. And then we had classroom portions where we would talk about team building and player development and, plays and just basketball stuff. So it was making sure men and women, boys and girls teams, grades 7 to 11, came in, got to the stations when they were supposed to. I supplied them anything that they needed while they were there, kept everybody on time, because those are pretty, when you're running 8:30 to 4:30 between 10 teams, you kind of need everybody where they're supposed to be. So
Right.
just kind of overseeing that, and then stepping in and helping out in drills and coaching when I got the chance, because I can't stay away from it. But that's kind of what that looked like. It was, like I said, super fortunate to have done all of that.
And do you think that those experiences were vital to the job that you have now?
I think definitely as an operations intern, yes. So I actually wanted to be an operations intern first, because one person I had talked to that had interned for the Pacers was an operations intern. So I'm like, I'm just going to latch onto this guy, do exactly what he did to try and get in.
Yeah.
And then kind of stop talking to him a little bit, not by choice, and just kind of went in with an open mind. And one thing that Luke told me while I was there, that our VP of ticket sales kind of talks about now too, is like, operations is crazy, but if the people you are helping organize don't know that something's wrong, then they don't know. Like, it's like a duck on a pond, right?
Yeah.
The duck above water looks smooth, and and then under the water it's just pedaling for its life. If you never show that, then nobody ever knows. And I think that's the biggest thing that I took away from that.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And do you feel like, so you played college basketball, right, for a few years. Do you think, and I know Willie touched on this briefly, but do you think basketball has bled into like other aspects of your life in terms of like your relationships, or the way you like go about thinking, or like how you work with the Fever? Do you think, like, what other correlations have you made between basketball and life?
Oh man, everything. Relationships, my job path. I feel like, going into, I know I said already, like, having a next play mentality. When you turn the ball over, you got to keep going. You're going to make mistakes in life. You got to keep going. That applies in relationships, in your job, in everything. Stuff like, being coachable. You always need to have, a growth mindset and be willing to learn. That's in your job across the board, not just, on a basketball court.
Yeah.
Like, literally everything, making quick, simple decisions, because the game moves like that. I know, like, one time I heard about Steph Curry doing a drill where one of his coaches would hold up a colored card, and as soon as he saw that, he had to do the decision that correlated with that card. Like, quick, simple decisions in life. So, like, here are the two options we have. Well, what's this one look like? What's this one look like? I'll go with this one. Like, literally has bled into every single part of my life.
It's like instinctual. I think that's a big part of life.
It is.
It's like in basketball, it's all in instincts, and like the best decisions, the decisions can be made based off of your, like instinctual acts.
Absolutely.
And I think that's a really good point.
And it's execution. Like, what I'm hearing you say is that you're making these quick decisions, and it's leading to more. It's leading to more. It's leading to more. And you're not stagnant, and you're continuing to move forward and keep the motion of the game. And that's, I think that's really great.
Yeah.
That you still do that.
Growth. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's the goal always.
Yeah. Keep moving. So, in terms of mentalities, I'm going to go ahead and move straight to that, because where it seems that we're on it. What kind of thing wakes you up in the morning? And, are you a believer of motivation? And do you use things to motivate yourself? Like, what does that look like for you?
I think it comes across in a variety of ways. I think coming from a small town, like, I always have a chip on my shoulder. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know where you guys went to school, but, like, I graduated high school in a class of 53 kids, and people that are from where I'm from, I just never seen anybody do anything like I'm doing now.
Right.
So the thing that motivated me was that, number one, I wanted to get there, but number two, I never wanted to get there for me. Like, I always wanted to get there to lay the blueprint. Like, I didn't have anyone to reach out to. I had to figure it out. So being able to be that person for as many people as I can from small towns across the board, but my small town, if I can be, that's kind of what kept me going. I say now, more than anything, family is motivation. Like, family, teammates, like, I always am aiming to be the best version of myself for them and not for me.
Yeah.
I feel like you got to take care of yourself first, and then that's how you can be the best version of you for everyone else. So I'd say that's kind of my motivation is I'd say more than anything family, and I definitely do still keep that chip on my shoulder.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm really interested when you use the term blueprint. So you said that you want to lay the blueprint, and that immediately makes me think, you said you're from a small town. You haven't really seen a lot of people do this. And yes, John and I went to high school together. We went to Frankton in Indiana, which is in Madison County. We graduated with about 120 people in our class. So it's small, not as small as yours, but it's still small. Mm-hmm. And I think that, for us, we came to Indy, we came to IUPUI. We're each doing different things, but we're both also really driven. And I think that right there is why we do this, because we want to just keep growing. And going back to the blueprint part, just allowing other people to see what's possible. Mm-hmm. Doesn't matter where you came from. And I would like to share a little bit about, kind of maybe what me and him do, and we can get to know each other here, because
absolutely
it's been a while since we've been on this, but John has accomplished a lot.
Go ahead, let's hear it. I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, so it's different. It's weird because a lot of the people that we've had on here have been from Willie's avenue, because he's in the sports world, and I've gotten to meet a lot of people from Willie. He's taken me to a lot of events, and I'm very thankful for that. That's how I met you. That's how I've met a lot of people in that realm, and I feel like I know a lot of people in that realm, but that's not necessarily what I have felt like my calling or what I wanted to do was. So, but anyway, yeah, it has been really nice to meet people, because I think everyone he's introduced me to has had really cool backgrounds and aspects of why they're in sports. But I am in school still. This is technically my 4th year, but I have to go a 5th year because I've changed majors and stuff. And for anyone out there that doesn't because I didn't really know what I wanted to do when I came to school. I tried out a lot of different things, and I felt like I was alone in that aspect, because a lot of my friends, Willie knew that he wanted to be in sports. That's something that he knew. And our other friend knew he was a business major. He knew he wanted to be in business. And I was like, damn, I don't really know what I want to do. So I was in sports management. I was in psychology. I was in a bunch of different majors. And then I came across during COVID, I had sat down and talked to Willie, and we had a conversation over the phone. I was thinking about whether I should stay in sports or whether I should, move on to something else. And I was and I was 20 years old at the time, and I'm 22, but it's that feels like it's been years, and it has been years, but it's felt like it's been even longer than 2 years. But I was dude, I don't what am I going to do with the rest of my life? I have no idea what I want to do. And I knew that I love to travel. I love to help people. And I knew that I wanted to do something that I could at least exceed and make, because I financially, I don't have a lot of people to support me. So I needed to make money. And I was okay, what can I do to make money, serve people, and, be involved, and just do something that I feel like I can and be known and be at the top of, kind of, be in the top of my class kind of thing. So I came across radiology, radiography, in healthcare and stuff. And I looked into it, and I was man, I would have to take all these classes. I needed to take an anatomy class. I needed to take a medical term class, all these classes that I still needed to take just to get into the program. And I was there's no shot. There's no way. What are the odds that they would take me? My GPA was okay. I had a decent GPA. It was above a 3.0, but it wasn't anything a 4.0. It was somewhere in the middle. And I was man, I don't know. So I sat down, I thought about it during COVID, and I was the more I think about it, the more I think I really enjoy doing x-rays. I think that would be cool. It'd be cool to work downtown. I would be able to travel, which I think would be awesome, and get paid for it. So I was all right, I'll look into it. And the more I looked into it, I was this really aligns with all my goals and what I want to do. And serving people and being able to travel and make money doing that. And so it was man, this really makes sense. So anyway, I took the anatomy class, took the medical term class, did well enough to get by, and then I applied to the radiology or radiography program here, and I had gotten an interview, and I was like, shoot, okay. Like I was like, as soon as I get to the interview, I believe in myself enough to stand out, or at least because there was like 100 and some people, and they accept 40, and I was like, okay, I need to at least make myself stand out more than these. It wasn't just for me. It wasn't like I wanted to make myself stand out more than just as like the 60 people to get in by the threshold of 40. It was like I want to stand out enough to where they want to have me. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And yeah, I had gotten the interview, was super nervous. I was like, man, I don't know. It seems like a lot of people in here are smarter than me, and I had a lot of self-doubt in that, and like wasn't really sure that if that was what I wanted to do. And then I ended up getting accepted, and now I'm a year into the program. I have another year. I work at Eskenazi right now, and yeah, I mean, it's all like just kind of one after another. Like I had a lot of self-doubt in whether or not I could make it that far, in terms of that. And yeah, I luckily, I got accepted, did well in my first year, and then I'm getting ready to go into my second year. And yeah, I couldn't be really more excited for that. I think it was a big goal of mine to be able to get into this program and to do as well as I did. And, it's just something that I'm pretty passionate about, and I think it's exciting for me because it's something that I've always wanted to do. And the fact that I'm, a step closer to that after going through this whole year, it's been a long journey and a process doing it. Like it has been easy. It's like a full-time job that you're not really getting paid for. But yeah, so that's kind of what I've been up to, I guess.
Can I add a little? So you'll be done with the program next year.
Next year in May.
And how old will you be?
I'll be 23.
You got plenty of time.
Yeah.
That's the
We're
message.
young. All of us are young.
Yeah.
Honestly, the common theme here is genuinely it's just your mindset. It's like you're determined. You're gonna do it, and you're gonna make it happen. And that's why I admire him. That's why we do this, and that's why we have people like you on, Noah, because we see that, and we want to learn from you and learn from the people around us, right? Because that's just going to help us be better. And, you talk about networking. I view this as a networking thing. I do. I think that anytime I have a podcast, even on my calendar, like I have color coordinated.
Of course.
I put networking. I have a networking thing, and when I add this podcast to my calendar, that's what I categorize it as. It's like, I'm just gonna go and hang out, have a little podcast. And but yeah, like John's story to me, he's one of my best friends, and like being able to just kind of see that, knowing him from a young age and seeing what he does, and just even coming to Indy, like, Rising Sun is not Indianapolis, Indiana. It's not.
It's what do they say? A hop, skip, and a step away. That's about it.
Yeah.
So it's like, even, coming here is big, and he wants to travel. He wants to go to more places. He wants to expand. They say you don't want to be the big fish in the little pond. You want to expand and, view more in life. So I just think that's really neat.
Willie, for you, how many days till All-Star?
Today, I currently believe there are 290 days until All-Star. 290 days until All-Star.
Yeah.
I think. I could double check
on that. Talk about what you've been up, what you've been doing.
That's what I'm getting into. Go
ahead. Yeah. Talk about that.
Where do you want me to start? Like, are you talking currently with the job that I'm in now?
It's up to you, dude.
Okay.
You said it's been a while since you've been on here. Catch up from where you left off.
We could, I think we could go forever.
I'm not sure we've ever
about
really,
Willard.
broken down what John and I do. I don't know if we've done that.
Well, John went back about 3 years ago, so if you want to do that,
I went pretty deep. I went as far back as COVID, but you've done a lot more than I have in terms.
I'll say I've been blessed that my path, like John said earlier, I kind of knew what area I wanted to be in, and I haven't really had to change my mind a whole lot. I have reached points where I've thought about it, but I think I've always kind of held on to the fact that I wanted to work on the business side of sports.
Literally the exact same.
That is kind of something that I've always held, and it started in high school. I was looking at what I wanted to do. Talked to our athletic director, who's also our basketball coach. Really look up to that guy. His name's Brent Brobston. And I went to his office. I said, I want to do what you do. I want to be an athletic director. And he really challenged me to go beyond that. He talked about the Indy 500 and the Colts and the Pacers and all these different like organizations, large organizations that I never really dreamed of working for as a kid. I mean, I grew up thinking it was a dream to just get a ticket to a professional game. You know, I thought, oh my gosh, like I get to go watch the Colts. Oh, I get to go to a Pacers game. Like that to me, that was like a big deal. And so hearing him say that was really neat. Like that was really cool to think, wow, like he thinks that I could do something like that. And so I was looking at sports management programs and I found IUPUI, and it's kind of right in the middle. I really chose IUPUI because it was financially feasible. I didn't want to go to UIndy because I felt like that was going to be too much money. And I was fortunate to be a 21st century scholar. So I had my tuition paid for going to a state school at IUPUI. And anyways, when I got here, the first thing they started saying was volunteer, get involved, start networking with people.
I'm just going to get this off. Totally splashed.
And so,
But keep going.
wait, what happened?
I splashed tea on my face. Let's keep going.
Oh, no, we're going to leave that right in.
Oh, yeah. We don't edit anything out in this podcast.
Okay. Keep going. Keep going. I don't mean to cut you off.
But so I get to school, and that's what they're saying, right? They're be involved, get there in person, do this. And I started to realize, wow, sports is really recession-proof. Nothing in the history of sports has ever really stopped it. It's always united people. It's never going to close. Sophomore year, COVID hits. Shuts down the world. And I'm like, wow. Like, I considered everything. I considered military. I considered going back into, like, being more of a teaching, like, PE, athletic director. I started to really think, I started about going into HR. I don't know, just different things. I just was, like, turning away from sports during that time for a little bit. And I even tried to double major for a semester, 19 credit hours. Did not go well.
Couldn't be me.
So the next summer, I continued to just work in sports. I was volunteering with Indiana Sports Corp. I had a part-time job with the Indians on their tribe team. Moved from that to a children's museum internship and their outdoor sports experience. I just tried to stay relevant, tried to stay active. I did an NCAA mentorship program. And I met Sarah Meyer at Indiana Sports Corp, who we've had on this podcast. And she really kind of pulled me back in. And at that time, COVID was kind of wrapping up. We Zoomed. We did Zooms, and she mentored me over Zoom. And it was just a program that I'd signed up for. But it went so well that she decided to keep being my mentor. And I will never forget what she's done for me in terms of saying, I'm going to be this kid's mentor. I'm going to look after him. And I ended up getting an operations internship with the college football playoff. The first day going back to that, I feel like COVID was truly over. I was there in person. We had our first day of classes. I was back in the classroom. I was the president of the Sports Management Club, which is a big volunteering organization on campus. And I felt like things were back. Things were good again. So COVID was kind of like a rough patch for me. It was tough, but I think at the end of the day, it really reminded me like this is still what I want to do, and that's what's going to happen. And so I dropped that double major, went back to stick true to sports management completely. After I worked for the college football playoff and operations, I then got an internship at Indiana Sports Corp following in the spring. And so I got to work for Sarah Meyer in marketing. So I did operations, then I did marketing. And I think that during CFP, there's a host committee. Mm-hmm. So in Indianapolis, anytime we host a large sporting event, they have a host committee. And when you're a part of that, especially when you're on the staffing part of that, everybody has a committee that's focused in one area. But when you intern for the actual committee itself, you get to see a lot of those different committees. And I was in operations, so I got to see kind of what that looked like and witness it. Frankly, that was kind of the main thing I did, was I was just in the room, just watching, just learning. I'm an intern. I have nothing to say. And even the simple way that they just operated their meetings, I took that information and I went back to the sports management club and I ran the meetings and I set agendas and I planned events and I really set the bar. I realized, this is how they do it at a high level. I can also do that. And so I started to implement that into my life. And then I really fell in love with it. And I'm like, this is what I want to do. Like 100%, this is what I want to do. And so when I went to the marketing side of things at Sports Corp, I still found myself being like operationally minded, I think. So that kind of confirmed to me, I got to stick with operations. The following summer, I worked for the I worked for the NBA 2K League that was hosted, and I was a production assistant. So I got to be around that, meet some of their staff, see the event. And then I studied my last semester of school on an exchange program in South Carolina. And I went to South Carolina thinking, oh yeah, I'll get some kind of experience in sports. But when I got there, I realized it's a college town. Yes, there's sports, but all the seniors in my class already had positions. And I really didn't find a job there, but I really got to experience another state, another area. That was great. And then it's interesting because right during that time, I was really getting to know my girlfriend, who I met in Indy, and she was also moving. So that's a whole nother story. But we kind of stayed in touch and really got to know each other during that time. And I took this contract in Indianapolis as the NBA All-Star Event Services Coordinator. And
hold on. Say that one more time. You did what?
I took a contract.
Say it with your chest, dude.
I took a contract as the NBA All-Star 2024 Indianapolis Host Committee Event Services Coordinator.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, you did. That's my first full-time job coming out of school. I graduated in December, and it's very closely modeled like the CFP because it's a host committee. And I think that's a really big reason why I got the position, was because I did have that internship, and I also got to meet a lot of committee members and people who are on the staff that are closely related with the same event. And so I just had the networking. And I also, there's more that I didn't really include, but like throughout college, I was on the conversion crew at the Pacers. So that was early on, which means I was overnight, like overturning stuff. And one of the things that I did was I was on clean team, and Mel Raines at the Pacers was standing in the concourse, and I walked up to her and introduced myself.
Bingo.
As a clean team guy. I'm wearing a yellow shirt that says clean team on the back. I'm holding a bag of Lysol wipes.
Did you keep the shirt?
I do have that shirt.
Okay, cool.
So,
I worked that same. Yes, I still have that shirt.
He did.
I did work the exact
same job.
You guys
ran it together.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. It was honestly, if I didn't have Willie in that position, I probably would have. I don't know what I would have done, but it was terrible.
Dude, I asked John. I was miserable working overnight, and I said, "Hey, John, you should do this with me." He did.
I did.
He did, and we worked
overnight. We would go to class at like 9:30 a.m.
after
not working or working like from like 8 p.m. to like 8 a.m.
Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, I had 3 classes that started at 9. So it was like back to back to back that started at 9. We would work all night long. I'd go to class at 9 a.m. I remember having my Yeti cup, and I would get a Monster out of the vending machine because that's literally all. Like, if I'm like, I need something. I'm going to die. I just crack a Monster, and which is just the most unhealthy thing. And I poured it in, and I'm just sitting there during class. And oftentimes I would find myself falling asleep. Like, I would just be like,
yep.
Like, and, I say this, it sounds miserable, but it built me. It built me. It's who I am. I'm not disappointed in that experience. I don't think it's a bad thing. And so getting to know Mel through that. Then later on, a couple months later through class, I had to do an informational interview. Reached out to Mel Rain, said, will you do this over Zoom? 30 minutes of your time. She did it because she's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And so she did. And so I knew her.
Mm-hmm.
And I started to see her in public. Or not in public, but at other events. Yeah. She knew who I was at that point. So, just being able, networking, being able to, not who you know, not what you know, who knows you, I think is the key to networking. Mm-hmm. Because if you can show people that you're here and that you're willing to do the work, that's kind of the key. And so through her and Sarah Meyer and several people that I've met during CFP, those are the connections that I made to get here. But, what I'm proud about it is I didn't have to have my parents or my siblings or anybody do that on my behalf. Mm-hmm. I feel like that's something I genuinely worked for on my own, and I'm doing it, and I love my job now. Like I said, I'm on the contract, so it will last through February. But at that point, I feel like I've gained a lot of experience that I will need to do a lot of other things that I'm really excited about. And I'm really, public announcement. I think I'm going to be moving to Denver, Colorado.
Moving where?
Denver, Colorado.
There's a little bit of inside baseball. I kind of already knew that.
Yeah. When this contract ends, that is my plan, and I'm using the connections I've made now to reach out to people there. And you'd be surprised at how small this world is.
Yep.
So,
very.
And that's just full circle. That's why we do it, right? Like we are serving the blueprint.
Yep.
For the people that need inspiration to understand this world is small. If you have a little bit of common sense and motivation, you can do anything that you want to do.
Anything. And I wanna add on to, because I know you mentioned Sarah Meyer. If you were finished.
No,
I don't mean
finished.
to cut you off. Okay.
I'm finished.
Because in my path too, kind of that time when I was exploring during COVID and just followed what I was interested in, and there are certain people that hit along the way. Like first, I mentioned Joe Hughes at Blacklist, where I worked in the skate shop, has been amazing to me and helping me out, and he is who led to my corporate internship. So we plugged.
You intern at corporate.
We plugged corporate a little bit earlier.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Plug them again.
Okay, corporate got them. Corporate got everything.
They got the kicks.
They got the kicks.
They got the kicks.
They both got their kicks from corporate. But my internship at Blacklist, I had known about corporate, but I never knew. I had never gone and shopped there, and I always just wanted to learn. I always wanted to learn more about sneakers. And when I started interning at Blacklist, it was in the spring of 21, and was having a conversation with Joe and was like, listen, I know this is just for the spring. I'm really trying to get on interning with corporate in the summer. And he's like, funny enough, me and corporate's owner are best friends, basically.
Yeah.
So small city, Lawrenceburg, where Blacklist was, Lawrenceburg, Indiana.
Wow.
Therapy dogs on the
I don't know if you could hear that, but the speaker just came on and said, we're not right now. There are therapy dogs.
Humble beginnings.
And cookies.
We're here. I'm
definitely
going to go get
I'm going to actually, hey, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to bleep that out. So when I say in the podcast where we are, I'm just going to bleep it out.
Yeah.
Because I don't want people to really know.
No.
But wow. Therapy dogs and cookies.
I'm going to go get some cookies. But
please continue.
Anyways,
please continue.
So Joe kind of connected me with Matt, got me on to intern with corporate in the summer. That spring was when corporate opened their second shop up here in Indianapolis. So I interned with Matt over the summer, and that was actually how I got my first connection at PS&E, because corporate opened up here and released a graphic tee with the Reggie Miller doing the choke thing. As soon as they opened, if you go in corporate, it's kind of on the wall in there. So when they did that, a guy had posted the photo. I'm interning with corporate in Cincinnati. I saw him repost it, clicked on his profile, and his bio said, formerly Finish Line, which their headquarters is here in Indianapolis. And it said currently, motion graphic designer at Pacer Sports and Entertainment.
That's dope.
So I'm like, corporate reposted it. So I went in the next day of my internship and was talking to Matt, Tom, and Michael. Shout out to Matt as well. Matt is a great mentor of mine. always looking to serve his community. So I went in the next day and was like, Matt, I saw this. Do you know this guy? Can you connect me with him, basically? So Matt did that, hit up his friend who was a photographer for Corporate and Indy, who knew Rennick. They worked together at Finish Line. Shout out to Chris Elliott, who now works at Pacer Sports and Entertainment as well.
Yeah.
Crazy loop. But that was how I got my first connection. Got lunch with Rennick. This was summer 21, and Rennick was a major help, I'd say, / mentor in helping me get where I am as well. So definitely wanted to give the people their flowers. Joe, Matt, Rennick. I mean, working under Luke was great. A bunch of people, I did a lot myself, but a bunch of people helped me out, and I couldn't have done it without them. So
absolutely
had to plug that.
He's humble, folks. He gives recognition. Take notes on this. That is the key. You always shout out the people. You always shout out the people who helped you.
Anything
like anything
good you do in your life will not be by yourself.
Yeah,
Nope.
Never.
You'll never get there alone.
You'll never get there alone, no matter what you do. I think that's a great mindset and like aspect that a lot of people are selfish, and they like to think that it was on them, and they like to think that, oh, I got myself here. And even from a humble beginning as a small town kid, you still have that mindset, and I think that's really cool, and I think that's really important. And yeah, I think you'll carry that throughout your entire career. And there will be a kid, I think, that like you guys have talked about your mentors, and even mentors for me. I think as we grow older and as we become more mature in our career or our lives, there will be kids that will look up to us, and I think it's just important to pass that on and to keep that going, for as long as we can.
Absolutely.
I can't wait. I'm so excited for those moments.
Guys, I'm fired up. I am fired up.
I can't wait to do that.
I'm not going to lie. We started this podcast. I'm not going to lie. I will be transparent. I was a little bit nervous. It's been a long time since I've done this. But I am very I'm very encouraged to just sit here with you guys and talk about that. Like, isn't this just amazing?
It's great. I love it.
Let's do it then. Like, let's do this thing.
Yeah, man.
Gosh. Yeah, I'm sorry.
It's the best. It's the best. This podcast, I will tell you,
is
if this never goes anywhere in my life, I will never regret it, because this is something we've talked, like Willie and I have created, and like I would have probably never met you. I would have never met half the people that I've met if it wasn't for this or Willie or any of this. And if that's all I get out of it, I'm perfectly fine with that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And what's exciting about that is there's two things I want to say. The first thing is what he just said is, he's met a lot of people because we've started this. We've set up this system now, which if you look, we have a link tree. We have an Instagram.
The link tree.
We have a
beautiful.
Twitter. We have a TikTok. Like, we're
nice.
working towards that, and we're taking it more seriously. He's gonna get guests on. This isn't going to be just a sports thing, right? Like, he's gonna start bringing his guests. I'm gonna bring my guests. And we're gonna keep doing that together. And it's so exciting to see that.
It's great. It's great. It's a great podcast. You guys are officially official. I told you that earlier.
Officially official. He texted me
official.
today and said that.
Officially official.
No, that's dope. And you get no Pflum on the pod. It's officially official.
But
it's when you get a link tree. It has nothing to do with me.
Yeah. So the second thing I wanted to say was just in terms of John and I have talked about, like he said earlier, we don't care who watches it really. Like, we want it to expand and we want to make this thing happen, but wholeheartedly it started just because of us, and like we want that, and me and him have this thing where if we shake hands, it's gonna happen. We give each other our word. We've never broken that.
That's beautiful.
And so we've shaken hands and said at the very least, we will do one podcast a year for the next 50 years.
That's a big commitment.
If you think about that, just think about that for a second, because like if this doesn't make, whatever it is, if we just do one a year for 50 years, that's something that we can cherish and look back on and see our growth as people
and look forward to every year.
Exactly. Yeah. And so I'm not saying that's what we're going to like fall back on by any means. I truly think that right now in this moment, we're truly going to push forward and try to get people like you. And we're starting back up, but we've got people queued up. we have big plans, big intentions for the kinds of guests that we're going to be on here. Like, genuinely, I think that we're going to keep growing. We're going to keep growing.
It'll go. And honestly, I have full belief in Willie and I. And, like, I think that having people, like he said, like, having people like you on is, like, that's what we want. And it's not necessarily about, like, for me, it's not about people that I don't think about people that the public would find interesting. I look at people that I would find interesting or that he would find interesting.
Exactly.
And I think if you do that,
you should be honored, Noah.
Yeah,
you're doing.
Yeah, I'm hyping you up, major.
I'm honored that you're doing it for yourself and not for clout, because that's not many people can say that they act that way. So
I mean,
that's the biggest thing is, like, you know, there are a lot of podcasts today, and that's, like, it's become pretty mainstream. But a lot of it is just for clout. And, like, we could probably post things that would get us more views, I'm sure, if we said certain things or did it a certain way. But it's like, that's not really what it's about.
It's fake.
We're here to learn about people, learn about ourselves. Like, these are the kind of conversations that keep me going. They change. I mean, I was excited all day today about this. Like, I genuinely can say that. And we both are. I'm not sure how excited you were.
Oh man, I've been ready
but
for
like
it.
we long for this, and I think that it's easy to get caught up in life and be busy and fall into the drama of life, right?
Absolutely.
But at the end of the day, we both want to do this, and so here we are. We're doing it, and it's not hard.
Absolutely.
It's easy to do. And I'm tired of just going through life and not doing things like this.
Not meeting people.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like something that I think you have inspired even from this conversation is, like, even if you're from a small town, even if you don't have a sense of direction, or even if you do, like, anything you put your mind to, you can do it. Like, you are capable of so much. And
it's
like,
real.
Like you said, you didn't have a blueprint. No one fed you away like, hey, this is what you should do. But you still found a way to make it happen. Same with him. I think same with me, and same with a lot of the people that we've had on this show, on this podcast. It's like, you know, and that makes it so much more significant to you, is because, like, you didn't have someone that just bottle fed you the entire way. Like, this is what you need to do. This is how you do it.
Yep.
And I think it makes, like, your self-respect, like, how you view yourself is so much, better, and how people look at you is so much,
So Noah and I today, earlier, because we obviously, we both work for Pacer Sports and Entertainment. We were in an inclusive leadership training today. I walk in, I see Noah standing there. I'm like, funny enough.
This happens over and over and over again.
We always run into each other. We're just like,
everywhere.
What are you looking at? I mean, I would say that I have grown to like you as a friend.
Yeah. Every time I see you
you're
walk
somebody,
in, I'm like, Willie's here.
Because for whatever reason, the tickets that we get for the Pacers games.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, I don't know how this happened. Whoever Scott, who's given us the tickets, has seated us together every single time.
Every game.
So every time I come in to sit, I'm sitting next to Noah. I'm like, and he was in my orientation, so it's like, oh, what's up, man? And at first it's kind of like, hey, what's up? Then you come back again, you're like, all right, we're sitting next to each other, and we just kind of like laugh together. We start texting each other. I literally the first thing I ever texted him was a gif of Andrew Garfield as Peter Parker. And I sent it to him during the game. I'm buzzed off a couple beers. And I just sent him this gif, and I said, Noah, I just found this picture of you online. Like, that's literally what I said to him.
Can I tell you, Noah, the first thing? So whenever Willie took me to a Pacer game this year.
Yeah. I was there.
Yeah, you were there. Yeah, you were there. Yes, bro. And he goes, he was talking about you, and he was like, yeah, there's this guy that, we work in the same, we work for Pacers and sports entertainment, whatever. And he was like, he reminds me of Andrew Garfield from Spider-Man. And I was like, really? I was like, I cannot wait to meet. I have to meet this guy.
That's so
Because
funny.
I'm a huge Spider-Man fan. So I was like,
As everyone
I need
should
to
be.
see this. Yeah. And then I saw you, and I was like, Willie, he does. Bro.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
Does he not,
He
folks?
does. He looks exactly like
And
Andrew
that's a
Garfield.
compliment.
funny.
by
Yeah,
the way.
hey.
It's a compliment.
Take that.
A
That's
common theme that I want to add too to those employee seats, and I think this goes back to small town and earning it ourselves and showing up, is that every time Willie and I, and this happened at least 5, 6, 7 times during the Pacers season, every time we showed up, we had a different person with us. Like
Yeah.
we are looking to share in
Yes.
what we've built for ourselves and not just keep it like
Dude, that is
literally every
Such a
single
good-
time. Every single time it was with someone different.
That's
that. I'm glad you brought that up because I didn't really like I noticed that, but I wouldn't have really thought about that right now.
I
Like,
feel like that's kind of what like
That's what we
connected
do.
us as well, because then
we
both
realized
showed
wow,
up.
like
we
have a lot
realized
in
what we
common.
were doing. Yeah,
Yeah.
like we did relate in a lot of ways. I think that's what really kicked it off.
And we're fun. Like the texts we send to each
They
other,
were
like,
hilarious.
It gets to the point now where if we have a company all staff meeting or something, he'll be like sitting a couple rows behind me. I'll get a text,
Literally
like,
just
he's just
happened.
like he or something. I'm like, or I don't know. If
Was
that's
that
what he said.
Wednesday last
What'd you
week?
say?
I was
You
like,
texted
turn
me
around.
something. Yeah, he's like, turn
Just,
around.
like,
I'm
right
like,
behind.
where are you? And just
yeah.
just funny stuff.
It's
like
very
that,
funny.
But,
That's the best. Yeah, that's the best.
Yeah,
You make those connections, man.
yeah.
That's cool.
And so no, back to the original. I kind of got off track. Here
It was great.
because today when I walked in, not when I walked in, but when we just started the training, they handed us 4 different words. Each person had a word. These 4 words are also included in the principles of Pacer Sports and Entertainment. I think your word was trust.
My word was trust.
Yeah, and so we walked in and we were asked to define what that word meant to us. I think that's
It was
a fair
like my
statement.
name is Noah and trust is blank, basically.
Yeah, and so what he said was I think that trust is something that is earned and not given.
Yep.
Right.
And I'm just like, hell yeah. I like that's something that I completely believe and I think that the fact that you're just on here today, I just want to say, yeah, I respect you. I appreciate you for following your dreams and working hard at what you do because that's what you wanted to do and you didn't have to rely on anyone else to get there. And that is it's a great thing. It's a great quality. And that's why we had you on today.
Thank you
And I just
to the
wanted
both of you.
Yeah. Appreciate you coming on, man. It was a
Yeah.
blast getting to talk to you, just have a conversation. Yeah.
So,
It was absolutely.
guess this is wraps.
This is
Yeah,
Raps.
man.
Thank you guys.
No
I
Pflum,
really
man.
appreciate it. If you ever want me back for a part 2,
Oh, okay. What time? No,
No, you're
it's
good.
okay.
we're almost done.
We're gonna move out of here.
Wow. More humble beginnings.
Yeah.
So one day when we build a studio like Joe Rogan,
Yeah.
it'll be worth it.
So to wrap this up, Noah, we thank you for being here.
Yeah, man. Thank you, Noah.
We appreciate it very much.
Been an honor having you on, man. Seriously, thank you.
I
for coming
appreciate you
here.
guys.
And yeah, we're excited to see what else this podcast does, and we'll stay in touch with you. And we're very excited. So thank you for doing it.
Excited to grow together with you all forever and ever on. So
Best of luck in your adventures with the Fever. Congratulations on being engaged.
Yes.
It's
Appreciate
awesome.
it.
That's really cool. And yeah, hopefully we'll have you on back here soon.
let's make it happen.
Dab me up, cuz.
All right, yes,
Okay.
sir. Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
everybody gets dabbed too. A little less formal. Oh no, on the
On cam.
Oh, no.
On the cam. Good to be back. What'd he say?
All right. That's wraps.